Hey there, Ashlyn. Martha Miller here with your Town Tea for the week of March 10th. So there was no town council meeting this week, but there was a budget work session. So I wanted to pop on here real quick and just give a rundown of what was discussed in that session. So themes for the year per our town manager, Mr. Josh Farah, are striving for a balanced budget, continuing investment in connectivity and infrastructure, meaning sidewalks and trails essentially, continued investment in our employees, and to set a post-ARPA baseline for our budget, the American Rescue Plan Act, which was that injection of federal funding that we received post-pandemic. So that money has all been expended or committed. So looking to kind of return to business as usual in terms of our budget expenditures. And then some one-time infrastructure investments due to a budget surplus, which is the result of unexpectedly some employees departing, which is not necessarily something that we hope for, obviously, but when that does happen, it does create kind of a surplus of funds that can be used for one-time expenses. So we did have some citizen input at this work session, which is great. One was made ahead of time and another in person there at the meeting. And both were kind of around the same topics, which is an expressed desire for additional sidewalk investments, as well as investments in our parks and trails here in town. So those quality of life amenities. Revenues wise, things are looking good going into the fiscal year with our meals tax, as always, being our highest grosser in revenue. So those are still holding strong. And then Mr. Farah did touch on, because it has been a topic of conversation in the news and elsewhere, the potential impacts of federal funding cuts. The good news is that the town is not super reliant on federal funding in our budget. And so we do not anticipate any direct impacts due to the federal cuts that are happening at this time. Personnel-wise, he's suggesting a 4.5% across-the-board salary increase for staff to continue to retain and attract top talent here in line with the kind of to stay competitive with our other localities that are around us. And then there is a proposal on the table by me to convert a current part-time position that I have in my department to a full-time person. So that would be adding an additional 20 hours, which would put that person into a full-time category. This is a communications kind of specialist, community engagement position, which I rely heavily on. And so I'm asking for a full-time person for that role so that we have someone dedicated to that responsibility. As well as our planning department is asking for a part-time position as well to support planning projects. And then finally, our public works department is looking at doing some succession planning, as there are several members of their staff that are nearing retirement. And so to be able to bring employees in with a little bit of overlap to learn and train on the job with those staff that are nearing retirement, that will allow the town of Ashland to continue to deliver those kind of professional services without interruption. And then the presentations of the night covered finance, my department's community engagement and tourism, our public works department, a few others. But I wanted to talk specifically about the parks presentation, because that is usually top of mind for our citizens and of great interest. So Ms. Richards presented kind of her hopes for the year and her budget asks, one of which being kind of the second phase of the South Taylor Park revitalization. South Taylor Park is currently at the point where we're doing phase one, which includes a full court basketball court, as well as some other improvements in addition of some parking over there. So phase two, it would be to complete that project, to add some walking trails and some other kind of amenities over there. And so she's asking for funding to complete that project. Second, per the Parks and Recreation Committee's work plan for the year, Ms. Richards is asking for funding to begin the process around the North Ashland Park. And it's been a little while since I talked about that park. So just as a reminder, or if you're new, that is a 7-acre parcel of land that the town of Ashland purchased a few years ago with the idea of turning it into a park. And it is located across from the town shop on Vaughn Road, there at the railroad tracks. And so the first phase, the initial phase of a park development project, is community engagement. So going out and figuring out kind of what the community would like to see there, what amenities, whether that's fields, playgrounds, or other things that the community is really looking to have in that park that we may not have in some of our other parks. And then the second aspect of that is once we hear what the community is looking for in that park, is to contract with a design firm to come up with a layout and proposed price for the build out of that. And then the budget can be allocated in subsequent years for the actual construction of that park. So Ms. Richards is hoping to accomplish that in this next fiscal year, which should be an exciting community process for us. And then finally, some kind of continued funding made available for signage and branding around the Fall Line Trail project, which our portion of the actual trail itself is complete, but we do want to create a kind of momentum of bringing those folks that are on the trail into our downtown, which will involve maybe some pavement markings or other signage coming from the trailhead there at Ash Cake Road into our downtown, so that users of the trail are enticed to visit our restaurants and shops downtown. Finally, the last thing I'll touch on today before I hop off is wanted to let you all know that the Berkeleytown Heritage Park Trail is complete. Major construction is done on that. It's beautiful. It's a great place to walk, and I've already seen a lot of folks out there running and taking advantage of that trail. For those that are unfamiliar with the location of that trail, you can access it in two places. One is off of Archie Cannon Road there, just down from the new elementary school, and the other is at the very end of North Center Street and Berkeley Streets, and there is an entrance on that side as well. For parking at this time, your best bet is to maybe park at Railside Trail or the elementary school, as long as it's a weekend, and walk down to the trailhead to get into that. And then related to that, we have set a ribbon cutting for that park, which is going to be Saturday, April 19th from 11 to 1. We're planning on having some community performances, some food, and other things to celebrate that park opening. And the reason we're doing it is in April is we're still waiting on signage to be installed to kind of tell the story of the Berkeleytown history. So all are welcome to attend that, and we'll hope for good weather and hope to see you there. All right, Ashlyn, that's all I have for now. Have a great weekend.